All right, boys. I am gonna crash out. I was terrible at these picks. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna do a quick count and even figure out what my percentage was for UFC France. I was a little bit over 70% for the whole card, which was good. That's pretty solid what I'm trying to do. But here was terrible, dude. I got him and her, and then so it's 2-1. This doesn't count. Uh, So it was 2-2, 3-2. This pissed me off. He was so close to winning. 3-3, 4-3, 4-4, 5-4, 6-4, 6-5, 6-6. Damn, I was 6-7, dude. That's terrible, bro. That's literally less than 50%. I'm trash. I'm fucking trash. Literally, I'm trash, dude. Literally, I only got this one right because I just heard that, you know, he was kind of like a much better striker, and people were just saying like he's a better fighter. I didn't even know who these two were. I just guessed on this one. I got this one right. This was garbage, dude. But yeah, Danchenko honestly looks like a pretty good prospect. He looks pretty comfortable, pretty solid, good character. Bro was in the octagon right after he won, talking about sign my training partner. He's the best. Don't even pay me. Just sign this guy. Honestly, pretty cool. Excited to see him fight again. He was awesome with those elbows. His striking was just on point. This was terrible. This is kind of exactly like how I called it. This chick was way taller than I expected, and also she's 19, right? So really critiquing her is unfair. But I mean, she just isn't ready. But Dana and all of them know that. They see that. And to be fair, women's bantamweight isn't really stocked with high level talent. But I mean, she's 19 years old, dude. She's not ready. She was just crumbling under every single ounce of pressure. Whenever Rendon even decided to pressure her, even remotely, just throw wild punches that we would see in the early 2000s of fighters, fighting. Pereira just didn't even know what to do. She was backing up and freaking out. When she got taken down to the ground, there was a clear grappling disadvantage. I mean, I'm not trying to critique her too hard. I think that if they give her someone who's a trash women's bantamweight fighter, who clearly she isn't. Well, I know what they were trying to do. She's old. She hasn't fought in 2 years. They thought that they could give her this quote unquote veteran, I guess, and she was just gonna starch her. But that was just so silly. She's even more of a grappler, pressure fighter, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't understand what the UFC does with these matchups, especially younger prospects. Like this isn't boxing, which is amazing, right? You don't want to just only build people up on tomato cans or whatever. But when you have a 19-year-old that you're clearly signing because she's South American and you want her to fight on a South American card, right? Like a Mexican card, you should really give her someone. I guess they wanted Rendon because she actually is Mexican, so that kind of makes sense. But then why even put her here? I don't know. This just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like they threw it together because it matched the theme of the card rather than they actually wanted to see if she could be a good prospect. So it is what it is, man. I think she needs to fight someone who's more on her level. Maybe someone a little bit younger. Pretty much a tomato can is what I'm getting at. There should be plenty in the bantamweight division that she could tee off on. All right, well, I fucked all that up. I had to pause everything. I don't even really know where I left off. I remember I was talking about them, and yeah, Rendon looked good. Pressured her. I definitely thought she won the fight. I am kind of surprised someone gave it to Pereira, but it is what it is. Whatever. Set her up with a tomato can in the bantamweight division, dude. There's so many there. All right, this next one, super disappointing. I was hype for Korea. I mean, you should always kind of be excited for dudes who were able to come into the UFC and win on their debut. Costa is extremely good. I think he's top 15 level talent, and I think that it was I had a 1-1 going into the third round. Unfortunately, the toe injury kind of just led to him being TKO'd. it just is what it is. I think his corner threw in the towel as well. But Correa, he looked great. He really looked great. He was able to get in and out, good fundamental boxing. And I think that this dude definitely has a good future in the flyweight division. Costa, you know, unfortunate, but Correa, he is gonna have a good matchup next time. I mean, set him up with someone else, kind of like on the fringes of the top 15, and see what he can do. And then if he wins that next fight, then I think he gets a top 15 opponent, because he came in and faced a really tough guy first fight and held his own, and looked great. So, it is what it is. I got this wrong, but props to him. I had Zachary Reese. I had Zachary Reese winning this fight, and then he decided to come out and hit Dumas with a crazy dick kick, the literal worst dick kick I've ever seen in my entire life. Bro just straight up launched his foot straight up into his nuts. I think his right nut specifically, as Dumas was talking about. Which he said he couldn't feel, he couldn't stand up, all this kind of stuff. I don't think he was sandbagging or anything like that. That literally looked fucking awful. So I hope his balls are feeling all right. And I would like to see this matchup again, but just in general, I want to see Zachary Reese matched up with somebody who he can absolutely sleep. And I think Dumas is someone who he can knock the fuck out. So, unfortunate, but no contest here. This was one of the fights that I thought was going to be really close. I picked Garul, and I thought that Garul had a real shot of winning, but Aguilar just kind of turned it on in the third round. I had a 1-1, and Aguilar just really came out and finished so strong, man. It was, yeah, I mean, props to Aguilar. He looked great, dude. He looked really good. Because I think Garul is also pretty dang good, but it just is what it is. I think he's like 0-2 in the UFC now, or is he 1-2, something like that. But he needs to come out and have a big bounce back win. He needs to actually get in the win column next time. But Aguilar just looked great on the stand-up, and in the grappling exchanges, he looked pretty good as well, but Garul looked comfortable. He shrugged off a guillotine, and Aguilar has like 6 wins by guillotine or something like that, so everyone was freaking out, but Garul was able to just kind of like stand up and shrug him off. It was pretty nice. They both looked good, and, keep on improving. I got this one wrong as well, but this fight I thought was really close. This went pretty much exactly like I thought it was going to go. Tatiana Suarez just like wet blanketed Amanda Lemos. There's really nothing else to say here. I mean, keep fighting people in the top 15. See if you can get another title shot. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this other than Lemos looked good at the end, potentially almost finishing Suarez. Suarez needs to get her cardio in check. I don't know what the hell's going on there. But Suarez dominated the whole fight besides the last 30 seconds, 45 seconds. So yeah. But here I thought Puelles won straight up. It irritated me that he didn't, because I totally picked him, but he did it to himself because Joaquim Silva came on strong and he almost finished him near the end of the fight, and that's really, I think, what lost him the fight. Yeah, I mean, it was really unfortunate because Puelles somehow looked decent on the standing. He rocked Joaquim Silva with a cross at one point. All right, had to cut that out also. But yeah, man, Puelles, he has underrated wrestling. I always tell people that. People are like, no, he's just a jiu-jitsu guy. He's not gonna be able to get you down. Dude, he gets on the hips pretty frequently, man. And can actually finish. He is able to time his entries while standing up so well, even though he doesn't have great stand-up. So while he's kind of annoying, and no one's gonna care that Puelles didn't win because everyone fucking hates him, but because he's just such a jiu-jitsu kind of only guy. But legitimately, man, he definitely won this fight in my opinion. I had a 2-1. And I don't know. I like the way he fights. people might think it's like boring and lame or whatever, but I kind of like it. I like seeing people who are like, you know, really good at one thing and being able to pull it off. Something about that's very interesting to me. And he finds a way to get people to the ground and get entries onto the hips or into the hips, even though his striking isn't really good, you know. And I think that's pretty neat. But, anyways, it was a close fight, so I won't say he got robbed, but I think he should have won. Dushko, he crushed this dude like I knew he would. I mean, it wasn't really anything. Like, this dude needs to be cut. He should not be in the UFC. You know, I'm sure it's his dream and everything, but bro, you are not UFC caliber. Sorry, dog. And Dushko really just put it on him and then choked him out. Great fight by him. This one made me so sad, dude. This one made me so sad. I'm hyped for him, Santiago Luna. I had called him Aaron Pico Light, and honestly, dude, he looks like Aaron Pico Light. It looks exactly like what I said. He looks like just a like when Aaron Pico was a prospect. He looks like pretty similar to that. Yeah, dude, I definitely thought Quang Lee was gonna be able to, I don't know, just use his significant, like, I mean, his UFC prowess. He's not that good necessarily, but, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I convinced myself that Quang Lee was going to be able to somehow beat Santiago Luna. Luna came in on 2 weeks' notice. His last fight was at featherweight, and this is at bantamweight. I mean, obviously, he didn't have any trouble making the weight. Maybe he's, like, a legitimate bantamweight whose last fight just so happened to be a featherweight. But, yeah, man, he looked great at bantamweight. I mean, Quang Lee, like, gave him a good show, and like they both landed good shots, but Luna was just able to put him out. I'm gonna be watching Luna. I think we all should be. I think he's 7-0 now, 1-0 in the UFC. Let's see if we can match him up with another decent bantamweight. I don't know. I'm gonna try and play matchmaker. I still need to do the other one, so I'm gonna try and do both of those. Playing with like formats and stuff of how to do it, but I'm gonna do that, I think, and then you know, we should be able to probably find a good little matchup for this dude. And hopefully he can fight again at the end of the year, maybe, or the beginning of the year. But yeah, keep an eye on this dude. This one made me super happy. Alexander Hernandez put out Diego. I'm a Alexander Hernandez believer, dude. I just am. I'm a believer. Since he's been at lightweight, I mean, when he was at lightweight before, looked good. Had a couple of like decent losses. I mean, losses that kind of like changed him a little bit, like the Cerrone loss. Everyone remembers that. Talked mad shit, and then Donald just beat the brakes off of him. And ever since then, he kind of wasn't the same. But then he went down to featherweight, and he definitely wasn't the same down there. But at lightweight, his power carries. I don't know. He doesn't seem to have power. Featherweight, it must be the weight cut. But at lightweight, he still has that pop. And you know, it was a really close fight, really close first round, and the second round was pretty close, and Hernandez was eating a lot of shots, but he was landing some decent shots on Diego, and then he just hit him with he lined Diego up and hit him with a perfect right cross, just dropped him, jumped on top of him. And also, let's just talk about these local refs. The UFC needs to figure this out. The local refs, a lot of the times when they go to these spots where for whatever reason they can't have like their main guys, and they use like local staff, they're fucking trash. They were bad all night. Diego literally went unconscious like twice, and they still just kept it going, and bro was just getting fucking smoked. Like, dude lost so many brain cells because of those refs. It was crazy. It was crazy. Such a horrible stoppage. It was just awful. So yeah, not a shout out to the refs. The refs suck, dude. That was bad. But Alexander Hernandez, great win. I'm interested to see. He called out. Who did he call out? He didn't call out Neil Magny. Did he call out Neil Magny? No, that doesn't make any sense. Neil Magny's a welterweight. Who did he call out, man? Michael Chandler. That's who it was. Yet, honestly, dude, like, Michael Chandler won't take that fight, but that fight would be a banger. That would be actually sick. I'm a full Michael Chandler, Alexander Hernandez supporter. But, I don't know. Someone at the low end of the top 15 for Alex, maybe. I mean, 2 wins in 2 months, 2 knockouts. Man. Good little redemption arc here for Alexander. We'll see, man. We'll see. Kelvin, the fat boy, donut Kelvin Gastelum, looking like a fucking burrito. Dude looked so fat and disgusting and still performed so well. And yeah, dude, Stoltzfus, I feel bad. He landed a couple good shots on Kelvin. Stoltzfus landed a couple good shots, but and he just stayed in it. He was tough. But Kelvin, when he's on, his boxing is just unreal, man. He's just solid. I had a 2-1 Kelvin. I think everyone kind of did. Everyone wants to love Kelvin. I want to love Kelvin. But, dude, come on. You had to move up from welterweight forever ago because you couldn't make the weight. And then, like, now you're missing middleweight by 5 pounds? Come on, bro. Like, if he would have lost this, I wouldn't have been surprised if he got cut. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut now. But he needs, like, he's going to get punished somehow. I don't know. But, like, more than just financially, they're going to, like, throw him to the wolves or something. I don't know, man, but he needs to figure his stuff out, bro. Because he's only 31. He has a lot of miles on him, but he legitimately can fight like a 10 to 15 top middleweight. He just can. And he needs to get his stuff together because he's just wastes his potential, man. He had that, amazing run where he has so many good wins, man, on his record. But where he went up and almost not went up, but when he fought Adesanya for the vacant middleweight belt or the interim belt and, barely lost, like it was so close. Yeah, dude. And he just kind of hasn't been the same since then. But if Kelvin is able to put it together, I mean, I don't think he's championship caliber or anything like that, but he can be a ranked gatekeeper for you for another 3, 4, 5 years. He just needs to get his stuff together, man. Get it together. All right, Rafa Garcia, Jared Gordon. I thought this would be very close. I didn't know who to pick here, and it was kind of close. I had a 1-1 going into the third round. I heard something that the judges had a 2-0 Rafa before Rafa finished it, but yeah, it was solid. And Jared Gordon wasn't pressuring a lot in the first round. And then in the second round, he came out and he really was putting the pace to Rafa. And that's when the momentum kind of started to side with him. But then round 3, he kind of went back to what was going on in round 1, and he just got clipped with a perfect shot. Rafa put him down, ended up stopping him. It was pretty wild, man. Pretty wild. It was a great performance by Rafa. He just had great fundamental boxing, I feel like. I can't even really remember too much else that was going on. It was just kind of sort of back and forth. When the pace wasn't being put on him super hard, Rafa was just winning the exchanges, and Jared Gordon needed to pressure him more. And, he kind of just got out of his game plan because of Rafa. Rafa just being so good fundamentally. But props to Rafa. This is a very underrated win, I think. Jared Gordon is underrated. I mean, he beat Paddy Pimblett, he didn't, but he did. And his last loss against Nasrat Haqparast, he definitely won that fight too, I think. And so, he is 4-2 in his last 6, but he pretty much could arguably be 6-0. And then Rafa Garcia stopped him. So I think keep an eye on Rafa. We'll see what happens with him. Obviously, lightweight is the king of kings in all these divisions here. So I don't know what his next move might be, but he's getting close to possibly a top 15. So yeah, I got this one wrong, and I got this one wrong. David Martinez, bro, I'm not doubting you no more, dog. I thought it was just a little too early for him, from the Dana White Contender Series, and then he had I forgot who he had beat before this fight, but he had one more fight in the UFC, and then to give him Rob Font. But man, he just looked amazing. He really was able to just get Rob off of his game. Rob held his own, was able to stick him with straight long punches. I mean, Rob's obviously known for his jab, but he really couldn't pin David up against the cage or anything like that. His pressure wasn't really working the same way that he kind of wants it to, how he usually does. And David was able to just kind of stick and move and just kind of get on his bike and clip Rob with some shots. And when he dropped him in the third round, I thought it was over. Once again, these refs let Rob Font take a beating 10 seconds after the fight was over. I know it was loud, but come on, guys. You got to figure that shit out. But yeah, props to David Martinez. I'm super excited to see what he does next. Bantamweight, I don't even know if it's necessarily underrated division, but people don't talk about how stacked bantamweight is enough. I mean, this is getting so many interesting prospects in bantamweight. David Martinez is right up there with another one. Obviously, Rafael was ranked number 9. I don't know. I think I'll have fun trying to figure out who he can fight next, because he may be getting fast tracked. Who knows? Who knows? This one I am the most happy about getting wrong. I do not like Gene Silva. He really annoys the shit out of me. Stop barking, dog. Stop crying and overreacting to everything. He acts like how I would think it would be cool to act when I was in middle school. And like maybe he really is like super crazy and wild or whatever, but I feel like it's just like performance, and it's, he's just weird, dude. And like we're all a little weird, but like chill out, dude. Gets to be too much. Diego Lopez. Oh, also, before I even... well, let's just talk about the fight first. Diego Lopez kept a cool, clean, even-keeled mindset throughout fight week, even though the fighting nerds were being absolutely ridiculous, dog. Anyone who wants the fighting nerds to continue to win doesn't want them to continue to win anymore, bro. They're just being fucking obnoxious. So now the only fighting nerd that really is kind of on the hot streak is Carlos Prates. We'll see how he does. He's matched up... I can't remember who he's matched up with, but he has a big fight coming up in like November, I believe. October or November. And that'll be pretty interesting. But Carlos Prates is pretty much the only one that is getting people hyped up now because, Bahayo and Hoofy lost last week and Gene Silva lost this week. They're just kind of getting exposed and acting ridiculous. Like they were all like chirping at Diego Lopez all week, and Diego was just kind of like taking it. And then after the fight, he flicked them off, and Gene Silva fucking punched Diego Lopez in the back of the head, which really like brings me to my next point. This is gonna be a hot take, bro. Cut this motherfucker. Cut him. Get him out of here. Go to PFL. You have cut Dana. You have cut people for less. You have cut people for less. You have. Fucking Semtex, Paul Daly. Paul Daly threw a punch at Josh Koscheck at the end of the bell, or at the end of the fight, and like it didn't land, nothing like that, but he threw a punch at, like it landed or whatever, but it was like so soft, it wasn't like a clean shot. What I'm getting at is the strike wasn't significantly different than the strike that Gene Silva threw. Gene Silva threw a straight right that literally, or a jab that literally landed clean to the back of Diego Lopez's head when he was walking away at the very end of the fight after he got crushed. So, cut this dude. Cut him. Dead serious. Cut him. You cut Paul Daly. You cut fucking whatever that undefeated Dagestani dude was who, was chirping with like Manel Cap, right? Wasn't like Manel Cap and somebody were in some beef, and then he ended up getting cut because he was just like trying to scrap before and after the fight. It's like, dude, just cut. And he was undefeated or some shit. So I forget names, man. I'm so bad with names. Gene Silva, cut this dude. Dead serious. We don't need him here. Go to PFL. Win championships there. Go to one. Go do whatever, bro. Don't be here. Dead ass. But the way the fight ended up playing out was pretty solid. Diego was able to expose Gene's grappling. I mean, Diego's like so underrated in his grappling. It's crazy. He got full mount in the first round, almost TKO'd him. Really just dominated. Got in on his hips, on his back, and just chucked him to the mat like it was nothing. Diego Lopez did in the first round. And then the second round, for whatever reason, Diego decided to go full, like, meathead and just, like, take all of Gene Silva's shots, I guess, to, like, prove that he can't be knocked out or something, which is super stupid. Super dumb. Dumb game plan. I'm glad it worked out, but super dumb. And he was getting clipped with some crazy shots. And he was on the back foot for a while. Like, he kept going forward, which was weird. He kept going forward and just eating shots off his head. Just eating shots off his face. All of them. Whatever it was. and Gene was being super creative, throwing a number of stuff, punches, elbows, kicks, whatever. And they were all pretty much landing, and Diego was just eating them all and marching forward. And then eventually, um, he landed some good strikes as well throughout the fight. I'm not saying he didn't, but in the second round, majority of them were just being landed by Gene. And then as the round was kind of starting to end, Diego was on the back foot, and he backed up kind of towards the cage and circled away from the cage, and he just set him up and walked him perfectly into a spinning elbow. Last month there were two spinning elbow knockouts back to back. Carlos Prates versus Aaron Pico, and then Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, and Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. Those were back to back on the same fight card, and then this on this fight card. It's pretty wild. People are throwing spinning elbows like crazy, and he walked him straight into that. He was setting it up. You could tell. So he literally just kind of like walked along the cage, and as soon as he followed in his same kind of like path, he threw the spinning elbow. He stepped forward, through the spinning elbow. It was pretty wild, and he got gashed up and was just bleeding like crazy. Diego was just laying waste. Then Gene started to like say he shouldn't have got stopped or whatever. He stood up, like wobbled a couple steps, and then sat his ass back down because he was so dizzy. So anyone who said it was kind of an early stoppage, I know there was like a little bit of a discussion on the commentator side of it. I don't know if it was Dominic or DC who was saying that they thought it was stopped a little bit early, but it definitely was not stopped early. He was super fucked up. There's no reason for him to continue going. But long story short, dude, I think Diego set him up with someone else. If he gets another win, give him another title shot, and I think Diego is the future champ, bro. I just do. I think he barely lost to Volk, and if he can go in there, I think he might be able to beat Volk. And if he does, I think he's going to be champ for a minute. I would love to see Gene Silva beat a couple like top 10 opponents, Diego get the belt, them fight each other for a title as like a rematch. I think that would sell great. That would be amazing. But, who knows, bro? Living in my own head, who knows? But that's kind of what I'm envisioning. But, yeah, great job by Diego Lopes. All in all, it was a pretty good card. It's hard to live up to UFC Paris, Fight Night Paris, but, all in all, good card. Interesting to see what happens with all these dudes. I'm going to try and do a matchup video here soon. And then we can try and figure out who these guys should be matched up against. All right, everybody. Peace out. Enjoy your day.